told me that with great power comes great responsibility.
Yet, given talent that this man possesses since he was a child, he has had to carry teams throughout his football journey. And with Lamar essentially being a one-man band, every time they lose, it is all on his shoulders. It is always his fault. But do you think that the critics actually got things right when it came to their assessment of Lamar coming out of college? I don't think that they did. No one expected that he would be a two-time MVP, that he would help make the Ravens relevant again, not only with his running, but with his passing. But the one thing that keeps getting drummed up over and over and over again is the fact that Lamar Jackson does not have success in the playoffs, or is not as much success as people feel that he should have. Now, with this week, it all started off with Julian Edelman saying that Lamar Jackson is coming up missing on milk cartons because when the playoffs roll around, it tends to disappear. Then yesterday on Speak, a bunch of football players went and debated about, is the criticism of Lamar fair? They even debated on whether or not his response was valid. Don't know about that one. So today we're actually going to sit back and we're going to talk about a couple of these things that they actually went over with Lamar and whether or not I agree or I disagree. Now, I will say some of this stuff wiped a little bit off of my purple shaded glasses. Most of this criticism is unfair, but when you are the leader of the team, when you are the best player, a lot of things tend to fall in your lap. So if we go to the end of the show, this is where I'm going to start. The question was asked, because Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, he is uber talented and he is one of the best players in the league, should there be more pressure? Should there be more expected of him because he is that talented of a player? And this is something that I've really never thought about in that vein.
Should Lamar Jackson get more grace because he has 2 MVPs, or should he get harsher critique because he has 2 MVPs? In my mind, the greater you are, you've now qualified for greater criticism because we know how good you're capable of being.
That's a good point. It's a good question. I would say I think with great power comes great responsibility. Like with the ability to win 2 MVPs comes a greater degree of criticism. I think Lamar Jackson should be held to a very high standard. And then I said at the top of this, I just think you got to keep the same energy for everybody.
And they do have a point because he is so talented and gifted. We should expect more from him come playoff time, especially with the way things go during the regular season. And I think that James Jones said it when he said Lamar Jackson is killing teams during the regular season. Like he's destroying teams and he's leaving no doubt that he is the best player on that field. When teams leave, they know that's a bad man right there. But for some reason, when the playoffs come around, he said that Lamar Jackson is what he calls average. And he said he's kind of being nice with that assessment.
The criticism is fair. He's average at best.
Oh, God.
All right, we keep it in 100. Lamar Jackson is one of my favorite players.
The numbers say
at best in the playoffs, he's average. And for me, I would want to accept that as a player. The criticism is absolutely fair because he's not the Lamar Jackson that we're used to seeing in the playoffs versus the regular season.
And if you do go back and check out the statistics from Lamar and his playoff games.
But if we want to keep it a buck about Lamar Jackson, we have to acknowledge that in the playoffs, he got 6 passing touchdowns and he got 6 interceptions. Acho, tell me about the rushing yards too, though, Acho. Bet I'll do that because he got 9 total touchdowns and he got 9 total turnovers. So if we want to be honest about Lamar Jackson, we can praise him for what he does in the regular season, but we got to keep it honest about the shortcomings in the playoffs. Dak Prescott, a 2-4 playoff record is bad with no MVPs and 1 MVP vote. Lamar Jackson got more MVPs than Dak Prescott got votes. If Dak Prescott, amongst other quarterbacks, if these quarterbacks who cannot sniff the talent of Lamar Jackson get criticized for their playoff records, we have to be honest about the criticism for Lamar in the playoffs.
In 6 playoff games, he has 6 touchdowns passing and 6 interceptions. Not great numbers by any means. And because he is so talented, I'm truly assured that they feel like he should do better because, once again, he has done more with less during the regular season. So if you can do it during the regular season, even though the postseason things and the stakes are amped up a bit, you would think that he would perform a little bit better. So they added in his rushing totals and he has 9 touchdowns, 9 turnovers, which to James's point is pretty average play. But the one thing that I think that is really overlooked is what he's playing with and who he has to deal with coaching the team. Now, for most of these other Super Bowl winners and participants that progress in the playoffs, they either have weapons or they have an offensively gifted coach that's leading that team. Lamar has had neither. Now, this past season, they brought in Todd Monken, and yes, he changed some things. He made the passing game a little more prevalent, and Lamar showed he could pass the ball, and he's done a lot better. But it's still not one of these whiz kid, genius offensive coordinators that scheme wide receivers open no matter their skill level. Todd Monken is still running a version of the Baltimore Ravens offense, except for when it comes to the playoffs. So I think this is something that they are missing. Now, Emmanuel Acho, he seems to have a fit because they're like, oh, we just keep giving Lamar excuses. We keep giving Lamar excuses.
Real quick though, Jay, my heart hurts. There's nothing more infuriating I hear on daily television than you have to make it easier for Lamar. Here's why, Jack, and you my dog. I've known you since 2013. We were teammates in Philly. One, you're a two-time NFL MVP. MVPs, you're supposed to have the luxury of we don't necessarily have to make it easier for you because you are the most valuable player in the sport. That's my first thing, but I digress. My real point is this. All I ever heard for 5 years was they run the ball too much with Roman. They run the ball too much with Roman. They run the ball too much with Roman. Get rid of Roman. Get rid of Roman. Get rid of Roman.
And to an extent, it does sound like an excuse because once again, he's not given the weapons. He's not giving that proper coaching. He doesn't have that offensive line that is being protected. And these are the things that I have for a while now have been screaming to the masses like, yo, it's just him. He's a one-man show on Broadway by himself. But as these people so eloquently put it, he's doing it with the same cast during the regular season. So once again, we should expect more from a two-time MVP and a guy that's just head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to skill and talent. It's just for some reason the playoffs aren't clicking. So I think it's just a combination of coaching, talent, but I will have to admit Lamar does have to play better. But the one thing that he did leave out was, yes, Lamar has had his struggles in years past, and the touchdown to turnover ratio has not been that great. But the one thing they did not talk about was in the first round versus the Houston Texans, Lamar Jackson had 4 touchdowns. And I know through the grand scheme of things, all in all, that doesn't make things look any better, but it just shows you his progression and it shows you that he is getting better. Another thing that I noticed about this was when he was like, yeah, well, when it comes to Lamar and Dak Prescott, Lamar's gone further because he's gone to an AFC Championship game. Dak hasn't made it that far. But Lamar got to sit out a game because they had the first round bye.
We have to keep the same energy. That's what the young people say these days, right?
That's what they say, Dave.
You gotta keep the same energy. I got a graphic too. If y'all want to throw it up,
please do.
Graphics. I don't really. I could just sit here quietly while y'all digest those stats if I wanted to. Because one guy is seen as the biggest choke artist, a quarterback you can't win with, not good enough, can't get over the hump, never win the big game. When are the Cowboys gonna get rid of this bum? The other guy has won 2 MVPs. All I'm saying is if we're gonna drag one guy through the mud with every opportunity we get, we got to bring some criticism for Lamar Jackson for being worse. And I know Dak hasn't gotten to the AFC title game. Lamar got there after getting a bye also, by the way. So, I mean, that's just math. That's one less game you've got to win.
And the thing that upsets me the most about this part is you got to earn a first round bye. It's not like they just said, you know what, Lamar, you get the first round bye. His play throughout the regular season earned the team a first round bye. It wasn't just given to them. So let's not make light of the fact that he earned that spot. Yes, he didn't have to play in a wild card game, and that's because he put in the work. Dallas and them, yes, they do have it tough over there in the NFC with maybe 1 or 2 teams, but you didn't earn that first round bye. You've never earned that first round bye. So don't penalize Lamar saying that he earned something and that's the only reason he made it to the AFC Championship. It's not it by far. And since we're on the topic of Lamar versus Dak, because they want to compare the playoff records to one another, saying that right before Dak lost his game that they were tied. The one thing that Dak Prescott had that Lamar Jackson has not had is all-pro wide receivers. Pro Bowl wide receivers. He had an all-pro Pro Bowl running back at one point. Dak Prescott has been surrounded with offensive talent that Lamar has not. So when you start to compare the numbers, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Put Dak Prescott in this Baltimore Ravens offense and let's see how well he performs. Let's see if he gets the money that he's getting, throwing to the wide receivers that he's throwing to, having the running backs back there that are running the ball, or having guys block for him that are blocking. Dak Prescott has had a top 5 offensive line damn near his entire career. He's had 1 Pro Bowl wide receiver at least his entire career. This man went from prime Dez Bryant to Amari Cooper to CeeDee Lamb. Then they throw in a Brandon Cooks just for shits and giggles. I mean, come on now. So let's not compare the two. And then if you really want to look at it, Dak's in a weaker conference. Point blank period. Weaker conference. And he can't get past where he's gotten past. So let's not conflate this and compare the two when there is really no comparison. Put Lamar on a team with 9 all-pro selections. Give Lamar a healthy Ezekiel Elliott. Give Lamar a CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, a top 5 offensive line, and watch what he does, because he did it with no-name wide receivers. So this is another point where this show kind of, to me, fell flat. So then they went on to complain or discuss, debate about Lamar's response to the criticism. Lamar, as we all know, he doesn't care about criticism. He is his own worst critic. He's not worried about what other people have to say. But they tried to kind of demean the fact that he was like, I was hurt the year before, new system first year, I went out and won an MVP, and they're making it seem like he's using excuses. They're telling this man he should have just went out there and was like, I got to do better. I need to play better. Short and sweet. Keep it simple. But Lamar said this before. Lamar has always said, I need to get better. Why does he need to keep repeating the same old statements? Yes, he was coming off an injury. It's not like he's making excuses for it. He said, I need to do better. I need to play better for my team. So now we've turned this into a debate about what people say when they're defending themselves. Because if we look back, I'm sure if we look at each and every one of their careers, there was a point in time when someone questioned their play and they had something to say about it, or they had a reason for it. But once again, when you have this great power, you're supposed to have this Teflon skin and let everything bounce off you and give the right answers and say what they want you to say. But this is the one reason I love Lamar so much. He is his own man. He walks to the beat of his own drum. He's going to say what he wants to say and speak how he wants to feel. And it's ironic that the name of this show is called Speak, because whenever Lamar speaks, they try to take his words and twist it around and make it conform to something that they can talk about, they can make a whole show about, because they spend about a half an hour on this. Like, what more do you want from this man? I will be the first to admit he's got to do better. He has to do better. He has to play better in the playoffs. I don't know what it is about the postseason, but for some reason, we morph into a different team and he morphs into a different quarterback. Now, we get flashes and glimpses of the Lamar Jackson of the regular season, but we're just not getting it. Get all that. But let's not take away from what he has done throughout his career, and he still has years yet to go. Did a video before. Peyton Manning started out 0-3 in the playoffs, and I think he got blown out 41-0, 42-0 by the Jets. Jets beat Hall of Famer Peyton Manning down. But of course, the narrative with him was he's going to get it together. He's an all-time great. There's no way his career is going to continue in this direction. But with Lamar, it's, he's great, but he should go into the Hall of Fame. But there's always an asterisk behind it. Peyton Manning did not win his first Super Bowl until he was 30. Lamar Jackson is 27, and each year the Ravens have gotten progressively better and gone progressively further. I just think with a couple more tweaks here and there, they may be able to get over that hump, and Derrick Henry may be that missing piece. He may be that missing component to get them where they need to go, because they do need to run the ball. And that is another thing that was glossed over. Emmanuel Acho, just like I said, he had that tizzy fit about excuses he said about his offensive coordinator. He needed a new one, so they went out and got him a new one. Yeah, they did. But look at his game plan. Like, they cherry pick when they want to use certain things, because there was a point in time on the show where they spoke about the coaches were to blame. The coaches let the team down. But now that they picked up on the trail or the scent of somebody else talking about Lamar, it's like, this is hot in the news right now. Let's get these watches. Let's get these likes. So let's talk about it as well. So let's not forget about that. Yes, Lamar needs to play better, but Lamar needs help, because I think that's what he actually went off on, was like, Lamar needs help. What player doesn't need help? And to you, Emmanuel Acho, if you see this, before you have a conniption fit, before you hurt yourself and pop an artery, and you talking about this excuses thing, remember this. And I'm not throwing shade at nobody. Michael Jordan needed help to win. LeBron James needed help to win. Shaquille O'Neal needed help to win. John Elway needed help to win. So let's not act like all of these all-time greats did it on their own. Like they just went out there and willed their team to championships. No, they got help. Y'all favorite son, Matthew Stafford. What did he do in Detroit with Calvin Johnson? And Calvin Johnson was a bad man. What did he do with him? Nothing. Until he went to Los Angeles and got with Sean McVay and got some help. Then he won a title. So let's just not conflate this. Let's not get this twisted. Come on, bruh. Of course you need help. All of these great quarterbacks in the NFL today, outside of Lamar Jackson, they have help, especially offensively. So let's not even do that one. And then he tried to compare going to the AFC Championship and not winning it to the Olympics, saying And I get it. And I will say, it was a slick little quote. I ain't gonna hold you. But he said, yeah, you didn't win silver, you lost gold. But that's not what you guys said before last season. It's not what y'all said. Y'all said, this will be a failure of a season for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson if they don't make it to an AFC Championship game. That's what you guys said. That's the narrative you all spun. All y'all spun that. And then when he did it, the goalpost gets moved once again. This is the goal that you set that would be the measurable to whether or not Lamar Jackson was progressing or he was one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. And he made it there. He reached the same heights as your boy Josh Allen. And what? So now it's the fact that he didn't make it to the AFC Championship game. He didn't win a Super Bowl. That's what you're pushing now? Really? You're stretching on that. I get a quote. The quote was all right, but you're stretching. There have been a lot of great quarterbacks in this league, a la your favorite Dakota Rain Prescott, who's never made it to a championship game. So what are we talking here? So my question to all of you guys is this fair criticism? Now, I don't mean every day, every week, just every hour, them bringing up something different. Is it fair criticism or not say that Lamar Jackson needs to do better in the playoffs? He needs to pick his play up and play like he does during the regular season. Because if we get regular season Lamar, we would have championship after championship. The Ravens would probably be the first team to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Does Lamar now get the grace, or do we still continue to bash him for what he has not done? I am always going to rock with my quarterback, and I'm going to always have his back. But honest conversations need to be had. One of the winningest all-time quarterbacks in regular season history. Playoff time, not so much. And it's not all of his fault, but he does need to accept his share of the blame. And this is where I can't defend him. But what I can defend is when you start bringing up bogus ass statistics and you bring out your charts and who he's compared to and this, that, and the third. How many of your favorites, how many of your traditional passes have accomplished what Lamar has accomplished? It has not all been because of his legs. Because if it was all because of Lamar running, how many more running backs would we have as league MVP right now? If it was all about running, Christian McCaffrey would have won it last year. We'd have had some other guys win it in previous years, but they didn't. It's not about that. It's about this man taking the little bit that he has and making the Baltimore Ravens winners. Taking the coaching deficiencies, the deficiencies on offense, and making chicken salad out of chicken-ish. So the one asset I have, don't compare my quarterback to anybody else, because outside of Patrick Mahomes, there is no one else like him in the league. No one is winning like he's winning. No one is collecting MVPs like he's collecting MVPs. Yes, is there a little bump in the road? Is there a little hiccup when it comes to him on his way to a championship? But believe you me, there is one in his future.
Put him on the board. House Mazzoli. Got it. Championship.
And it is coming soon. And when he does get that championship, when Lamar wins that Super Bowl, what are you going to say about him now? And please don't hit me with the, well, it took for him to get Derrick Henry or it took for him to get whatever. All teams sign free agents. If the Philadelphia Eagles win this year, will you talk about the free agents that they brought in? Or will you talk about that they got over the hump and won another championship? But because it's Lamar, this is where we need to make the headlines juicy. This is where we need to spin that story to make sure we get those clicks. Make sure that we get those views and those likes. So when Lamar wins this championship this year, and I promise you, put that on almost everything. Not everything. You gotta have something just in case. But put this on everything. Lamar's gonna win a Super Bowl this year. He's tired of the talk. He's putting in the work. Now, it is also up to the organization to provide him. Offensive line's looking kind of sketchy. Had a little practice with the Green Bay Packers today, and the offensive line wasn't looking too well. But if they can get that together, Derrick Henry can still be somewhat of the Derrick Henry of old, and these wide receivers can catch on. Not worried about Zay. Bateman can stay healthy, and Nelson Aguilar can somehow find some invisible stickum. We will be unstoppable because the defense set. May not be number one in points per game, may not be in scoring, but they're going to do their thing. They're consistent, not worried about them. It's just getting Lamar what he needs. So Emmanuel Acho, yes, Lamar is possibly getting the help that he needs. And when he wins a championship, don't say, oh, the Baltimore Ravens surrounded him with enough to finally get it done, because they didn't. You look at every other quarterback in this league, and they're not working with the scraps that Lamar is given. So when that happens, sirs, all of y'all, except for Deshaun Jackson, because Deshaun Jackson, he pretty much defended him the whole time. And Dave, he tried to, he's a Dallas fan. He tried to do what he could do. But to you other two gentlemen, and James, I guess it's Acho. I guess it's really Acho. Because James Jones, he's a big fan of Lamar's. But he told the truth. You're not seeing the same player regular season you're seeing in postseason. So can't say nothing to him because he spoke on what he saw, which is true. But Emmanuel Acho, when this happens, I would love for you, well, can't go and speak. By the time that happens, you won't be on that show. So get the name of your new show. Whenever it comes, I think it comes out, I don't know. So on your new show, make sure when they win the Super Bowl, you are the first one, not the rest of them. I want you to be the first one to apologize. Because when Lamar puts that on his shoulders, he goes out there and wins that Super Bowl, and guarantee you me, he will be Super Bowl MVP when they win the Super Bowl. What is there left to be said?
Nah, man, I'm cool.